Unearth is a powerful 1-mana sorcery that was recently printed in Modern Horizons. This 1-mana sorcery says return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, cycling pay 2 mana. So we're going to be playing 4 copies of this card in this list. The entire point of this deck is to abuse Unearth. As you can see, we are playing many powerful 3-mana spells, like Grist, Lightning Skelemental, and Seasoned Pyromancer. And we have a few ways of getting these cards into the graveyard. Firstly, we're going to be using Seasoned Pyromancer to discard these 3-mana spells and use Unearth to get them back for 1 mana. But this in addition to Dragon's Rage Channeler, which is a 1-mana creature that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, surveil. So we're going to be trying to play this out and then play a non-creature spell and mill over a 3-drop. And while this deck is focused around Unearth, we are still using mana dorks to try and ramp into the 3-drops like Ignoble Hierarch and Ragavan, so we can play these powerful 3-drops on turn 2. And if you're looking for even more value in this deck, we are playing 3 copies of Bloodghast, which we can sacrifice to Grist's -2, or we can use this with Obnixilis the Adversary. This is a 3-mana planeswalker with Casualty X, which means that you can sacrifice a creature to copy this spell. And Obnixilis reads, +1, each opponent loses 2 life unless they discard a card. If you control a demon or a devil, you gain 2 life. -2, create a 1/1 devil creature token. When this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. And -7, target player draws 7 cards and loses 7 life. So with Bloodghast, both Obnixilis and Grist become way more powerful. So we're going to be taking this deck through a League of Modern to see if we can break Unearth in the Modern format. Match 1, we keep our 7. We'll play a Bobble and look at our top. See the land, we don't want that. But shock a Stomping Ground, play a Hierarch. When we draw another land, but shocks in a Sacred Foundry and Lava Darts our Hierarch. We draw a Skelemental, play our Verdant, pass. We'll place Mountain into Soulscar and a DRC. On the end step, we'll Tarfire the Soulscar, and in response to Mutagenic Growth, and they mill over a DRC. We'll fetch shock a Blood Crypt and Tarfire the DRC. And we draw an Unearth, play our Cliffs into a Lightning Skelemental, attack the opponent for 6. And before damage happens, they flashback Dart, attacking a land. Opponent plays a Swift Spear into a Bauble, looking at their top card, plays a Mire and attacks in for 4. All a Hierarch for turn, we'll Unearth our Skelemental, play out a Hierarch, attack in for 7. Opponent takes it and has to discard their 2 cards in hand. Discarding a Breach and a land, we'll play land pass. Opponent goes to combat, attacking for 2. They pass and we're down to 8. We draw a Bloodghast, we'll play that, and attack the opponent for 3. Opponent plays Unholy Heat, killing our Ignoble, and has a Lava Dart, which is lethal on board, so it'll get into sideboarding. We're going to take out 4 Hierarchs and Lightning Skelementals for Engineer Explosive, Hearse, and Collective Brutalities. Game 2, we keep our 7. We'll lead on the flats. Opponent plays a Steam Vents into a DRC. Untap, join a Thoughtseize. We'll Tyfire the DRC, and they have a Mutagenic Growth. Play a tap Blood Crypt and pass back. Opponent plays a Mire into a Soulscar Mage. We top deck an Unearth, so we'll play Bloodstained Mire and EE out on 1. And we'll fetch shock in a Stomping Grounds and hold up EE. Opponent shocks in a Sacred Foundry, plays a Sprite Dragon. Attacking with the team, we'll blow up EE. We kill their 1-drops and we take 1 from Sprite Dragon. And we top deck a DRC. We'll cast a Collective Brutality on all modes, discarding Thoughtseize and Grist. And in response, they Lava Dart us, putting a +1 on the Sprite Dragon. And they sack a Mountain to flash it back, making us a 3/3. And we'll take their path and then play out a DRC. An opponent top decked a Bolt, playing a Swift Spear and bolting our DRC. And they attack us down to 8. We draw a Blackleaf Plus, we'll Unearth our Grist, milling over a Forest. An opponent top decked an EI. They exile Bobble, playing it out. They attack us with a Sprite Dragon and Grist with the Swift Spear. We'll chump block, keeping Grist at 4. Yeah, and we draw Hearse, which means we're dead here. So let's get on to match number 2. Match 2, we're going to mull down to 6. And our 6 looks quite powerful. We'll keep Banana Forest. We'll lead on turn 1 Stomping Ground into a Hierarch. Opponent goes Watergrave into Fatal Push. We draw a Spyro. We'll fetch shock in a Blood Crypt and play 2 DRCs. Opponent shocks in a Grave and Thoughtseizes us. And they take our Spyro. We top deck our Ragavan. We'll dash up, attacking with the team. And Ragavan connects. Exiling an Archmage's Charm. And on our end step, they Thought Scour themselves, milling over Drown and Dismember. Opponent plays out a Shadow. And we draw a Grist. We'll play that out, playing around the Stubborn Denial that it might have. Milling over a Bloodstained Mire. Opponent plays a Delta and attacks in. We'll chump block with an Insect. We draw a Pyromancer. We'll dash out Ragavan. An opponent casts Counter Spell. And then we'll tick it with Grist, milling over Mountain. And we'll attack in for 1. An opponent scoops him up, not being able to beat Grist. Let's get into sideboarding. We're going to bring in 4 Fulminator Mage, 2 Unlicensed Hearse, and 2 Terminates for Tarfires, DRCs, and Mistress Baubles. Game 2, we're keeping our 7. Opponent goes turn 1 Grave into a Thoughtseize, taking our Ragavan. We draw a Mire for turn. Go Verdant, passing. On untaps, casting Thought Scour, milling over 2 Tolarian Terrors. Then they fetch shock, playing out a Shadow. Draw a Grist for turn, then we'll play out a Marsh Flats. Opponent attacks in for 1, missing a land drop. We draw an Unearth for turn. We'll fetch out a Mountain and play a Fulminator Mage. And they cast a counter spell on it. Opponent attacks in for 1, passing back again. And we draw a Terminate. We'll play a Verdant into a Grist. And they cast a counter. And we'll fetch out a Swamp, and Unearth our Grist. Then tick up, milling over a Seasoned Pyromancer. Opponent untaps, casting a Thoughtseize, taking our Ob, and no attacks. Draw a Bauble for turn. We'll tick up Grist, milling over a Ragavan. Terminate the Shadow. That resolves, and we'll play out a Bauble, and attack in for 1. We bobble them on the upkeep, seeing a Street Wraith. They cycle the Street Wraith and play a Misty. We draw a Cliffs and a Terminate for turn. Attack the opponent for 2. They're down to 5, so Grist minus height and should kill them. And opponent loses 5 life. Let's get into match number 3. Match 3, we keep our 7. Opponent leads on turn 1 Mine. We draw another Unearth. We'll fetch shock an Overgrown Tomb and go turn 1 Hierarch. Opponent plays a Blood Crypt into a Bitter Reunion, discarding an Archon. We draw Spyro for turn. turn, we'll fetch Shock and a Blood Crypt and cast one of them out, discarding Grist and another Spyro, finding a Grist and a Marsh Flats off of the draws. An opponent plays the Bloodstained Mire into a Persist, getting an Archon back, so we sack an Elemental token and discard a Grist. They Shock in a Tomb and sack Bitter Union, giving it haste, and then they attack us, we'll sacrifice the Elemental token and discard a land. Falling down to 3, we find a land for turn, we'll play that, we'll play out a Hierarch, unearth a Grist, and then unearth a Seasoned Pyromancer. Then finding Bauble and Ragavan, we'll downtick Grist, sacrificing a Pyro, and killing the Archon. Then fetch out a mountain, play Ragavan and a Mistress Bauble. That was actually a crack turn. Then we attack in for 4, opponents down to 16. When we bobble them on the upkeep, seeing a Lightning Bolt, so we'll just scoop them up and get onto sideboarding. We're going to take out Tarfires, DRCs, and Baubles for Fulminator Mages, Collector Brutalities, and Dothy Boardwalkers. Game 2, we're mulling down to 6, and our 7's much stronger. We'll keep putting back a Hierarch. We'll fetch Shock in a Stomping Ground and play a Hierarch. Opponent fetch Shocks in a Stomping Ground and Lightning Bolt our Hierarch. Ooh, we draw Fulminator. We'll Shock in our Crypt and unearth our Noble. Opponent plays a Mountain into a Bitter Union. Thank God no Vernon 6. Discarding an Invasion of Urgamon. And we do draw land for turn, so we'll Shock it in and cast a Grist, pick up Milling over and unearth, and then we'll attack in for 1. Opponent's down to 15. Opponent fetch Shocks, getting a Blood Crypt, and then plays a Fable. Ooh, we draw a Skelemental for turn, so we'll play that out and attack in for 7. And opponent takes 7, having to discard 2. Discarding another Fable and an Invasion. And since we're going to lose Skelemental anyways, we'll sacrifice it to Grist, killing the Shaman. Opponent declines to use Fable, then cast Brotherhoods and killing our entire board. And we draw another Fulminator, so we'll cast it out, and in the upkeep we will kill their Blood Crypt. And in response they fetch out a Dwarven Mine, getting a 1/1. Opponent plays a Mesa into another Fable. We top deck a Hierarch for turn, but we'll just play out another Fulminator Mage. And in response they fetch out another Dwarven Mine, getting another 1/1. Opponent untaps, copies a Shaman. They attack in with both Shamans. We'll take 4, and they pass back. We draw a Ragavan, and then we'll cast out an Obnixilis, sacking our Fulminator. And they bolt our copy in response to Obnixilis still on the stack, and we will downtick, making a 1/1. Opponent flips their Reflection, and then opponent attacks in with everything, and we'll take it, going down to 3, and opponent just has a bolt. So let's get into match number 4. Match 4, our 7 looks amazing. Opponent leads on turn 1 Saga into an Amulet. We draw a fetch land. We'll play Blackleaf Cliffs into a DRC. Opponent ticks up Saga, then plays a Simic Growth Chamber, bouncing Growth Chamber back to hand, then playing a Dryad out, and then they play another Saga. Ooh, we draw a Skelemental. We'll lead on a Thoughtseize, surveilling with DRC, and we'll bin a land. Then we'll take the Cultivator Colossus, and then we'll cast another Thoughtseize, binning a land and taking the Grazer. Their hand's just Simic Growth Chamber and a T-West. Opponent floats a green off a Saga because of Dryad, finds another Amulet, then plays out their Growth Chamber, bouncing Saga back to hand, and they found a Primeval Titan. And at this point, we're just not going to be able to beat this board state, so we're going to scoop it up and get on to sideboarding. We're going to take our Tarfires, DRCs, and Mistress Bauble for Terminates, Dothies, and Fulminator Mages. Game 2, our hand has no lands, so we get them all. Our 6 goes nowhere, but has fast mana, so we'll keep, and we'll put back a Hierarch. We'll lead on turn 1 Stomping Ground into a Hierarch. Opponent goes turn 1 Forest into a Grazer, putting in a Breeding Pool. We draw Marsh Flats, we'll play Glyphs into a Bloodghast. Opponent plays a Slayer Stronghold, passing. We draw Terminate for turn, attacking for 3. Opponent takes it, and we will cycle our Unearth. Drawing an Ob, so we'll Thoughtseize and save our Marsh Flats. Seeing 2 Endurances and an Amulet. Well, we'll take one of the Endurances, play our Flats for turn, and pass. And on our end step, they do cast out an Endurance. Opponent plays out the Amulet into a Boros Garrison, bouncing their Forest back to hand. Then they play out a Grazer, putting a Forest into play. Then they use Slayer Stronghold to give their Boreal Grazer +2/+0 in haste, attacking us for 5. We're down to 10. We draw a Seasoned Pyromancer, we'll attack in with a Bloodghast. Then we'll cast our Obnixilis, sacking our Bloodghast, and we'll down tick 1 and tick the other one up. And then fetch now, grabbing an Overgrown Tomb and getting back our Bloodghast. Opponent taps, goes to combat, attacking both of our Obs. We'll chump block the Endurance, and they activate Slayer Stronghold to kill our copied Ob. Devil dies, and we'll ping them down to 11. Then they play a Growth Chamber, bouncing their Forest, draw a land for turn, we'll tick up Ob. They discard a Forest, we'll attack in with Bloodghast. They go down to 8, we'll terminate the Endurance, chalk in our Tomb, and then play a Spyro, drawing Unearth and Hierarch. Opponent plays out a Dryad, then gives it haste and vigilance with Slayer Stronghold, attacking us, and we will chump block with Spyro since we have it Unearth. We draw a Ragavan for turn, we'll cast out a Hierarch, attacking for 4 with our Bloodghast, and they chump block with a Grazer. We'll play out Ragavan, then Unearth a Spyro, drawing Thoughtseize and Bloodghast. We'll cast out our Thoughtseize, seeing a Growth Chamber, and then we'll tick up with Ob, and they discard their bounce land. Opponent plays a Beseiju for turn, and we draw a Bloodghast. We will play both of them out, then attack in with Ragavan, and they block with Grazer, and we'll tick up with Ob. Opponent's down to 6. An opponent concedes before we can kill them with the Ob ult. Let's get into game 3. Game 3, our hand is so good, has my favorite combo, Fulminator and Unearth. Opponent goes turn 1 Gardens into Amulet. Oh, another Unearth. We'll shock in the Stomping Ground and cast a Ragavan. Opponent floats a mana off of Gardens and plays a bounce land, then plays out a Dryad into a Beseiju. We draw a Forest for turn. We'll play a Hierarch into a Verdant. Opponent uses Gardens to copy their Amulet, plays a bounce land, makes 4 mana into another bounce land. Then they play a Tyrannar Rex. Okay. And we're down to 10. We draw Thoughtseize for turn. We'll play at our Fulminator Mage, then kill their Sanctuary and unearth our Fulminator Mage. They go straight to combat. We will chump block with the Fulminator Mage going down to 1. Yeah, we lost this game not playing Hierarch on turn 1, and they play out another Dryad post-combat, and then they play out a T-West and a Boseiju for turn, and we draw Bloodcast for turn, so we're just gonna die here. Avoidable loss, but let's get into match number 5. Match 5, our hand's super risky, but we're keeping. We'll go turn 1 Ragavan, and opponent goes turn 1 Saga. Ooh, we draw land for turn. We'll attack in with Ragavan. Looks like we're up against Amulet again. We'll fetch Shaka Tomb and cast out as Pyro, and we'll discard Bloodcast and Ragavan, finding land and Skelemental. Opponent plays a Cavern, passing. We draw a Stomping Ground, we'll shock it in, getting back our Bloodcast, then playing out a Skelemental, and attacking in for a lot of damage. Getting a treasure, and opponent discards 2, and they discard a bounce land and a Cavern. Post combat, we play out a Hierarch, load a mana off Saga, then get an Amulet, playing out a Sanctuary into a Dryad. We put another bounce land off of the extra land drop from Dryad into a second Dryad, then play out a Cavern. We draw a land, and we're just going to send it with everything. They block our Seasoned Pyromancer and Ragavan, killing both. And after combat, we'll cast Ob, sacking the Bloodcast, getting a copy. Then we'll tick up with both. They have to discard. They discard Boseiju with the first, and a bounce land with the second. And we'll play a Forest, getting back our Bloodcast. And opponents goes them up. Let's get into sideboarding. And same sideboard plan as last game. Game 2, our starting hand's a little too slow, and our 6 is so strong. We'll put back a Terminate, and opponent's down to 5. And it goes turn 1 Saga. Oh my god, we draw a Mage. Let's go. Not gonna make the same mistake. Going turn 1 Hierarch. Opponent plays a Vesuva, copying their Urza Saga. We'll play a Blackleaf Cliffs, and then play out a Fulminator Mage. Sacking it now, killing a Saga. Opponent plays out a Bajuka Bog, exiling our yard. We draw a Bloodcast for turn. We'll cast out a Skelemental. Attacking in for 7. Opponent discards Forest and Summoner's Pact. They float a mana off Saga, grabbing an Amulet. Then they play out a Simic Growth Chamber, bouncing Bajuka Bog to hand. We draw an Unearth. We'll cast it now before they Bajuka Bog us. Then we'll attack in for another 7. They discard a Bajuka Bog and a Boseiju. Nothing from the opponent. We'll unearth this elemental again. Just 3 of these in a row. And they evoke out an Endurance. But now they are hellbent. We'll dash out our Ragavan and attack the opponent for 3. Exile a Summoner's Pact, and they concede. Let's go. So we did go 2-3 with the list, but we punted away a game against Amulet, which we should have won. So overall, I think we should have gone 3-2 or 4-1. And I think this is a very promising brew. I think out of all the cards that I would not consider running again, we're probably Dragon Rage Channeler and the Baubles, and maybe trimming on the Tarfires. But overall, this deck was super successful, super happy with the list. I think Unearth is an underrated card in the format. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.